Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Franchise Your Success. And we have the one and only Dan Olsen in the house. How are you doing, Dan?
Oh, wonderful. Marjorie, thanks for having me.
Of course, new studios, so we get to record amazing podcasts again. Today we had amazing food from Cafe Rio, and Cafe Rio is one of the many food franchises that people know. So with food franchises, right now, as of June 2022, we're living in like crises, and like so many like places are having a little bit of a hard time finding certain ingredients. So how do franchises dealt with these shortages?
That's been big, not only in the pandemic, but even now. So when inflation's hitting and prices are going up, it's all over the board. One of the biggest advantages of a franchise is that buying power. So these nationwide food suppliers, which these franchise companies tap into, have the ability to provide the services and the food to these companies. But what happens if you're just a little mom and pop or independent shop and you're trying to tie into there? We've seen that time and time again where they're not getting what they need to have. So the smaller unaffiliated type businesses that are food related, I talked to an owner the other day. He said, when we put our order in, we're maybe only getting 65% of what we're ordering. So the things are not on the shelves like they should be, or be able to sell in their service food franchises like they used to. So they're having a problem with that. But not as much, or even not so, with the franchise companies, because they've already negotiated with those larger suppliers. Here's our price, here's how it's going to work, and they're very accommodating. So guess who's going to get taken care of first if there's a shortage? It's the franchise companies, it's those big chains, it's the ones that dominate those markets. And food franchising actually dominates the franchise world. And so those suppliers are paying very good attention to the big boys who are ordering all that. And so that's what we're seeing out there. There's a huge advantage when there's a crisis to a franchise company versus having an unaffiliated mom and pop type place.
That's right. And I feel like then again, it comes back to having that amazing family within your franchise that helps you and supports you with whatever resources that you're needing to succeed. And also, what are some of the other ways that franchises have been combating these crises that have been happening right now?
You brought up a really good point. It's all about the people. It's all about who you team up with. Because when you have a group of franchisees, it's not only the franchisor at the home office doing things. Now there's other franchisees out that are part of your team. You might have someone across the country that finds this little source over here that shares it with the rest of the company. So there's another huge advantage to maybe you'll find sources that are even smaller to get your food here and get the spices over here, or get whatever they need in another place because of those connections of the franchise. So it just makes that family oriented even better. So some of the other ways, though, that they're coping with this is one of the things that a franchise has an advantage of doing is that team of people who will help manage this. I think an example of one of them right now, the CEO of this company, this food franchise, is amazing because even late last year, as food prices were starting to go up for these franchises, in fact, he did a couple things. First of all, in the pandemic, he innovated because now people couldn't come really to his store. So he started to innovate to be able to change his website around and offer specials so that it could be delivered, or so that it also could be catered. So to companies. I've seen volumes during the pandemic because they're doing catering to business. Like you're kind enough to bring this wonderful food in here for us to eat today. But guess what? Companies that are still operating, they need to eat. And so the easiest way to do that is food. And I've seen companies actually drop by this marketing message. This is a $1 billion idea.
Oh, wow.
It's created billions of dollars in sales with food.
Are we allowed to say this secret, though?
Yeah, I'm going to say it.
Oh, nice.
Okay, this one little thing is one little offer. It's all in the offer. Was they put out, there is such a thing as a free lunch. Remember that saying?
Oh,
no such thing as a free lunch. They said, there is such a thing as a free lunch. And so what they did is they put this, they even had flyers, the old school stuff. They drop off flyers. There is such a thing as a free lunch. We'd like to bring you free lunch to your office.
Oh, wow, that's
And so
awesome.
they did that. And of course, you can do it online or however
Mhm.
you want to do it. And you had it scheduled so they could drop by a few sandwiches or a few whatever they were offering,
Right.
burritos or whatever.
Mhm.
There is such a thing as a free lunch. Let us bring you free lunch.
Mm.
So they brought a couple sandwiches. People in the office shared. Oh, this is great. When would you like to book us to bring in your lunch for your whole office?
Oh, wow.
And they got a great return on that, and that's created a lot of momentum. Over the years, I've seen that happen, but also I've seen that happen more so during the pandemic and these rising prices. You know, this is not about just sitting there and waiting for the business to come into your food franchise.
Mhm.
Whether you're in a mall or an airport or a standalone retail center,
Mhm.
you still have to go out and get it sometimes. It's
That's
not
right.
about sitting there and waiting. Creating those ideas on getting out there and getting orders online and dropping off whatever it is and links to this and QR codes on this so you can click in there. I've seen just so many businesses thrive because they went out and got it. So that's number one. Number two is you have to look at the pricing of your
Mhm.
food. We've seen that just jack up. So working with the CEO of this food franchise we work with, he's amazing. He's an innovative. And so you want to be attached to a franchise like that, whether you're innovative. And so he was so innovative that he was able to not only do some of these go out and get them programs, but he had the food costs down exactly to the penny.
Oh, wow.
And so he was able to pass on all this analysis to the franchisees. They didn't have to do anything. Here's your analysis. So if you do it this way, here's your cost when you order from this supplier. But we're going to raise our prices a little bit. And they did a whole comparison. You look at a related franchise. Oh, these guys raised their prices. These guys raised their prices. We're going to come in just a little bit better under. We're going to do it this way. They analyzed it so carefully that they were able to keep their food costs way down
Mhm.
and then raise the prices a little bit. So they were just a little under a similar type company, similar type franchise, and they have flourished. They've never had a better year
Oh,
because
wow.
of just that careful analysis. And that's what a franchise can do for you, not only on the revenue side of bringing in all the revenue, but also on the cost side, which allow them to survive, and they continue to survive in a big way, even during all these crises.
And it's interesting how you mentioned that the owner of this franchise, he was um, so creative as to start looking for ways to find the resources that he needed, because I bet that not only the cost, but he was also taking care of the quality that he wanted to provide to his customers, because in the end, that's the thing of a franchise. You have to do what's best for your customers. So that's really amazing. That's one of the cool things that I love about franchising. I feel like it helps you be the most creative person that you can be and the most proactive entrepreneur that you can be as well. So we also got a couple of questions on social media for some people that wanted to invest into a food franchise, but they were a little bit scared of like how crazy these times are right now. So what are some pieces of advice that you could give to them so they can be assured that, yes, this is the best time for you to invest on that?
Yeah, you see that a little bit. And most people who take the plunge and want to look at a franchise, they're a little bit fearful. They're a little bit scared of that investment. But you know what? As you take the time to work with a really good, strong advisor for that, whatever food franchise it is, they can take you through that process and help you feel comfortable. And you don't need to invest until you're ready. So there's no pressure. So, but it can be fearful, but that fear can be removed. Anything worthwhile, success is always on that other side of fear. You've got to conquer that fear no matter what you do, whatever business it is. And a lot of people think, oh, food, what about food? That's kind of hard. Well, it's not, because the systems are put together. And food is popular. Food is something that's not going away. Guess what? We got to eat every day, right? And we've come into a society, no matter where we are, even in the United States, but in other countries, now they're thinking, oh, we got to go out to eat once in a while. So it's those that are innovative, those that have that differentiation, that unique selling proposition, and of course, always good food. They're the ones that are going to win out. They're going to stick in there. They're going to stay in a good place. So when we look at how these food franchises are processed and how you as a potential franchisee, obviously you're going to go and test the food. You want to be able to taste it, make sure you feel comfortable, because you got to have the passion. This is good. I can feel good about representing this. So wherever the nearest restaurant is to you, you want to go in there and try it. And get and if you let the franchisor, they'll be more than happy to meet you there or send their representative so that you can try it and feel good about it. That's another important thing about before you get into a franchise. Then the emotion and the passion starts kicking in. Then you have to look at the numbers. So in a food franchise and food world, I've run through hundreds of different numbers and hundreds of different franchise companies with food franchise with their numbers. You know what? They're all the same.
Oh.
I mean, in most cases, I mean, there's an investment level, and then there's the ongoing revenue pieces. There are costs. You got to look at what the food cost is. That's usually the big thing. And food costs in franchises, in food franchises, I mean, you can look at the statistics, and it's out there. So I'm not giving away anything that's not, you can't find online. But usually those are right around that 28 to 33% of the total revenue. Then you have to look at labor costs. That's next. How much labor you put into it, whether you're running it semi-absentee owned or whether you're just, you're going to run it yourself because you enjoy it. Sometimes you might want to be there all the time. That's up to you. So then there's the labor costs. Then there's the occupancy costs. So what is the rent for, or maybe you buy the building, but what is the rent for that particular place? Malls are going to charge a little bit higher usually, but there's more traffic and you have to do less advertising. Right. Where if you go to a retail center, it's a little bit lower, there's less traffic, so you got to advertise more to get there. Therefore that advertising component can be a little bit higher or lower depending on your location. But the locations are always right around that, maybe as low as 8%, maybe 10%. You might see them 11% at some point. But here's the differentiation in your profit. How much profit you're going to put in your pocket is what's the royalty cost. Ooh. What is the percentage royalty? And there's two types of royalties. There is the royalty on the sales, and then there's a royalty on the advertising, which is taken out to plug into the advertising to help promote the franchise names, which we all benefit from. For sure. So it's a good thing to benefit. But if that's real high, like I don't name any of them, but sometimes they might get as high as 10%. Oof. That's pretty high. They have to be providing a lot of value, a lot of brand name to pay that much. So usually you want to look at a little bit lower royalty in that 5 to 6, maybe 7%. Gotcha. So that gives you a little bit more margin to work with on the bottom line of your franchise. And then there's a few other expenses in there. But when you look at franchising as a whole in the food area, it's all pretty similar in the food. So there's nothing to be really afraid of. So really what it comes down to is the people and the system and the food that you like it. And it works. It works beautifully. And usually you're going to hire a manager to run it for you.
And that's one of the amazing things about being on a franchise, because you can choose to either be super involved into it or do the semi-absentee as you usually teach us. So in the case of a semi-absentee role within a food franchise, how would that look like?
That's a tremendous question. I'm thinking about that right now, one particular one that we work with. Now, when you get involved with a food franchise, you probably want to be, if you're working another job, you have another business, you'll want to take a little bit of time off because you don't want to just jump into it and say, here you go, manager, take it for me and run it and make it happen, and then walk away. In the beginning, you want to spend a little more time with it. So you want to be able to be a little more flexible in your job or your other business, spend some time getting it running so you know what's going on. So you may want to take a vacation week or two to do that if you're working a job. Get in with your manager, get in with the team members that you've hired and roll up your sleeves and be the leader that you need to be the leader. Don't be afraid to go out and take orders and maybe prepare some of the food yourself. Just be the leader in the first at least couple weeks or so of the business, and you'll learn it. It's a great thing to learn. It's a great thing to know. So as you become that leader, your people will follow suit, and as you help them feel comfortable, they'll follow you, and then you can back away, and you can be more semi-absentee owned. I'm thinking of one of my team members right now that has his business. He tells me he spends maybe 2 hours a week in his food franchise. And it brings him a great return. He takes out a really nice thing. He has a whole nother business that he does, and it's producing great income from the business. But this little side investment is producing a tremendous return for him because he's not having to put a lot of time into it.
But he puts enough time for his team to actually recognize him as a really good leader.
Yes.
And I feel like there's so many ways that you can contribute as a semi-absentee owner. You can even be super good at math, let's say, you can be at the front cashier office. Like, I mean, doing all the payments and stuff, you can do that. Or I guess even just bringing a platter of cookies to your employees every now and then. Those tiny little significant things truly mean a lot for your team.
They really do. In fact, I can go into pretty much any of the food franchises that I worked with, and I can see the ones that are doing the best just by looking at their little back bulletin board. Sometimes they have a little bulletin board, and it's something they post up there. A lot of it's done digitally now, of course. But you can see little signs and reminders and things. And you can walk in the back and you can see, you guys screwed up last night. You didn't do this, and you must do this and this and this and
Terrible.
this. So, the really more negative atmosphere, you can tell by looking what's back there.
Yeah.
Almost how well that's doing. And most of the time, not every time, but a lot of times those sales are down. They're not failing, but they can be down a little bit. Versus the one where you go in the back room and you see that bulletin board and, you guys did a great job last night. Thank you for doing this. This is what we did. Here's our goals. We're this close to our goals. And if we meet this goals, then we're all going to go do this together. You create that culture, and it makes a huge difference just with a few little things in the back room with your employees.
Exactly. And I actually was visiting one of my friends. She's still in college, and she showed me the back of the kitchen. And she showed me that they had a really big room where they had pretty much pictures of all the employees that were like super hard workers on the month or on the week even. And they had so many ways to motivate people. And that truly creates a better environment. Then again, thank you so much. It's always awesome to learn.
That's what a franchise does. They teach you how to do those things. They show you how to do them. Then you put your own personality into it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it's super cool to have the support of a super amazing mentor in franchises like you.
Oh,
Thank you so much
kind.
again.
It's such a pleasure always to be with you, Marjorie.
And it's always a pleasure to be with you guys as well. So see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.